Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the St. Tammany Parish Planning Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, March the 14th, 2017. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Casabon? Here. Mr. Lauren? Here. Mr. Richardson? Here. Mr. Richard? Mr. Willie? Here. Mr. Davis? Mr. Fitzmaurice? Here. Mr. Doherty? Here. Mr. Drum? Here. Mr. Randolph? Here. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, we would ask that you silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal any of the recommendations of this commission, appeals cards are to our right. If you wish to speak in front of the commission, we would ask you fill out a speaker's card for our records. Each side will be provided 10 minutes to present their case with 5 minutes for rebuttal. And lastly, at the end of each case, when you exit the building, we would ask if you have any further discussions among yourself that you leave the building, as if you go back into the back foyer, it does echo into the chamber. This time we would ask you to rise for an invocation by Commissioner Randolph, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Gracious Father, once again, we take out this time to say thank you for all the blessings you granted unto us, Lord, from time past through the all day today. You watched over and protected us, and you brought us safe thus far. We thank you for this opportunity to be at this meeting tonight, Lord. We thank you for all of commissioners. Thank you for our government, the staff, and we thank you for the citizens that we serve. Help us to make decisions that's in the best interest of all. And all these blessings we ask in your holy name. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In our packets, we have the February 14th, 2017 minutes. Commissioner Dougherty.
I move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Dougherty to approve. Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any further comments? Please vote. Motion carries. This is a public hearing. The public is encouraged to participate. Entering parish right-of-way, servitudes and easements. Entering parish right-of-way, Faulkner Drive and Crestwood Boulevard, Ward 3, District 5. Request to enter parish right-of-way for the purpose of laying and connecting sewer and water lines. The debtor, Faulkner Center, LLC. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Reichert Toledano. Staff.
Yes, this resolution is for granting Falconer Center LLC permission to enter the right-of-way, specifically a portion of Falconer Drive and Crestwood Boulevard located within the Alexisville subdivision for the purpose of laying and connecting 8-inch water line and 6-inch sewer line.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? If you come to the podium, state your name and address.
Alex Williams, 1450 Natchez Loop.
If you would move the microphone up. Thank you, sir.
Alex Williams, 1450 Natchez Loop, Covington.
And the reason for your request?
It's a commercial property that doesn't have water and sewer service available without these extensions. I'm the engineer on the main extension project. The utility service provider is Utilities Incorporated. Water mains directly across the street. They just need a bore underneath the Falconer Drive to get water service. Sewer service is plus or minus 800 feet away. So we need to extend force main to get there.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further comments? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Minor subdivisions, 2017-579-MSP, an 11.552 acre parcel and 60-foot wide right-of-way into parcels A1 through A5. Ward 4, District 5. The owner, Warren Campagna Jr. and Wesley Favaloro. Surveyor, Randall W. Brown and Associates, Inc. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Riker Toledano. Staff requests postponement until the April 11th meeting. Staff.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, yes, the staff recommends postponement due to a posting error that occurred on the site. We had actually posted it on the eastern end, and the location is on the western end of Williamsburg Drive. It had come to light after that there was some issues that required the petitioner to get us some more documentation that would have caused it to be postponed anyway, but that's the original request for postponement is due to a posting error.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the postponement? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I'll make a motion to postpone until April 11th meeting.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to postpone until the April 11th meeting, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Any further comments? Please vote. Motion for postponement passes. 2017-580-MSP, a 15.24 acre lot, a portion of additional acreage into parcels A through D, Ward 1, District 1. Owner Carol Graham, surveyor John G. Cummings and Associates, Inc. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason for a public hearing for this minor subdivision request is that one of the parcels, which is parcel D, is being accessed by a private drive. The owner is proposing to create 4 parcels from a 15.248 acre parcel, and since a private drive will provide access to only one parcel, said drive is not required to be built to parish standards pursuant to section 40-045.01 minor standards for a private drive of subdivision ordinance 499. Therefore, since the request does comply with all code requirements, the staff has no objections to the proposed minor subdivision request.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? If you come to the podium, please state your name and address and your reason for the request.
Hi, I'm Lynn Calmes. This property belongs to my mother, Carol Graham, and my address is 419 Highway 1085. So a portion of it will go to me, and we're dividing it between family and grandchildren.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
Quick question, Ron. Just looking at the plat, how will the private drive come into parcel D?
If you look at where in the front of the parcel on Highway 1035 between parcels B and C, you'll see where it indicates a 35-foot right-of-way.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I was
They got
reading
it.
it right. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Randolph, any further questions? We have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote. Motion carries. 2017-587-MSP, a 10.0 acre parcel into parcels A and B, Ward 2, District 3. Owner Marguerite Combra Drew, surveyor Land Surveying LLC, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable James Red Thompson. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason why the public hearing is required for this particular one is proposed parcel B does not meet the minimum parish road frontage of 300 foot pursuant to the A1 zoning district. The owner is proposing to create 2 parcels from a 10-acre parent parcel. However, proposed parcel B does not meet the required road frontage of 300 feet for A1 zoning. Therefore, if the commission decides to approve this request, a waiver of the regulations are required relative to the lot width issue, and a two-thirds majority vote of the full membership of the commission, which is 8 members, is needed in order to approve pursuant to Section 40-100, waiver of regulations of subdivision ordinance 499.
Is the petitioner here? Come to the podium, state your name and address, ma'am.
Yes, Marguerite Bodine, 11121 Cotton Lane in Folsom, Louisiana.
And the reason for your request?
The reason for it is I maintain the entire 10 acres, and getting older, I want to downsize. I actually lawn that entire 10 acres. On top of that, I would like to build a home on that parcel B and help fund retirement.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing no one, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, she lives pretty much at the end of the road. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve, second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further comments? Commissioner Willie, anything further?
Oh, no, thanks.
We have a motion by Commissioner Willie to approve with the variance. Second by Commissioner Randolph. This will take a two-third majority vote. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Petitions, requests. Entering the Tammany Trace, we have none. Revocation, closing, review. Revocation 17-03-001, the revocation of a portion of Hickory Street in Ozone Park subdivision located at the far western end of Hickory Street and east of U.S. Highway 190 Service Road, south of Covington, Louisiana, Ward 4, District 5. The applicant, Salvador Gagliano, surveyor, John G. Cummings and Associates, Inc., Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Reichert Toledano. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is proposing to revoke a portion of Hickory Street in order to assimilate said property into his respective adjacent commercial lots in order to expand his business. A couple of property owners that technically touched the proposed street revocation at a portion on the eastern corners of each request of that right-of-way to be revoked are objecting to the revocation request, stating that they fear that the revocation request will have a negative impact on the value of their property. The objection of the two abutting properties notwithstanding, the staff believes that the proposal is consistent relative to the Louisiana revised statutes governing the revocation of movable property, since the right-of-way does not appear to serve any public use or benefit other than to the applicant. Therefore, the staff has no objections to the proposed revocation request, subject to the applicant assimilating the right-of-way into the lots that he owns on both sides of the street through the parish's administrative re-subdivision process.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here?
My name is Stephen Lee. I represent Mr. Gagliano. I live at 265 Samalusa Drive in Covington, Louisiana. What he's trying to achieve here is he wants to expand his business to the rear of the existing property, and in doing so, he has already purchased a portion of property, and we're trying to absorb the portion of Hickory Street that is not constructed currently and has no existing utilities running through it. And in doing that, he intends to expand the existing structure.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the petition? Seeing none at this time, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Dougherty.
Yes, I missed your name when you said it, but Mr. Gagliano owns the lots 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28.
Yes, sir.
And how are these lots accessed? Is there a driveway or something that's not on the plat?
In Square 12, there's an existing structure that he uses as a storage facility, and that's in Ozone Park subdivision, which is accessed from the 190 service road to the west there of the site.
Okay.
And he also owns, which you can see on the plat, the metal building, which is in Suburban Estates. That's the building he intends on expanding into this region that we're trying to get revoked, this portion of Hickory Street. They each have their own individual access to the sites. And he owns, the lots 5 and through 28 as north of Hickory Street, as well as the little portion which we have previously subdivided into Lot 13B1 to the south of Hickory Street.
Okay, and apparently the folks that had objections to it are the owners of Lot 29?
Yes, sir, 29 and 30. It's an uncle and a nephew that own each one of those lots, and basically it was already stated that they think it's going to decrease the value of the property. It doesn't really answer the question that's posed by the parish, and that indicates how it would affect the removal of the removal of the right-of-way will affect their property. It is currently not accessible, their lot, at this time, and Hickory Street ends, as you can see, at Suburban Estates. It never continued on the Highway 190 service road.
Okay, thank you, and I'd move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Dougherty to approve, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Commissioner Lauren.
Yes. Again, back to the staff. Ron, do you know that since lots 24, 5, 6, 27, and 28 are, as I read it, a part of the Ozone Park subdivision? Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe that's Ozone Park, yes.
All right. Are there any restrictive covenants as to how that land can be used in?
No, it's a zoning, the property is zoned HC, I believe it's zoned HC2, which is commercial zoning.
Okay, it is zoned HC2?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's,
Any other questions or comments by the commission?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Richard.
One last question, Ron. Is parcel A1, that triangle, also owned by the petitioner?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what will be assimilated?
That's correct.
I guess equally? I don't know how they...
Well, our plan, at least when I talked to the petitioner's representative, was to assimilate that parcel along with the parcels on the north side to make it one large parcel. I'm not quite sure if his intention is to make also the triangle that fronts on the highway service road all one parcel or not, but I know they plan on assimilating the triangle on the eastern end plus the properties on the north side.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Now we have a motion by Commissioner Dougherty to approve, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote. Motion carries. Re-subdivision review, 2016-512-MRP, Town of Lewisburg, Lot 17, and portions of lots 15 and 16, into lots 17A, 17B, and 17C. Ward 4, District 4, petitioner Warren Davey and Richard Palco, surveyor LS Land Surveying LLC, owner Warren Davey and Richard Palco, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Michael Lorino. Postponed to the February 14th, 2017 meeting. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you just stated, the case was postponed from the last meeting, excuse me, in order to allow a couple of concerned property owners whom abut Mr. Davis's property, which was Mr. Bill Jordan and Mr. Bill Hanson, who appeared at the meetings, to work out some issues pertaining to servitude access and drainage concerns. And based on the meeting that the staff had with all parties involved, we believe that said parties left the meeting satisfied that all would work together in order to satisfy Mr. Jordan's and Mr. Hanson's concerns. As the commission may recall, Mr. Warren Davey owns all of Lot 17, which is a long and narrow lot typical of this subdivision. while Mr. Polshow owns portions of lots 15 and 16 that front on Magnolia Avenue. Mr. Polshow wishes to purchase that center portion of Mr. Davies' property of lot 17 to add to his own property, which leaves Mr. Davy with 2 acres for which he wishes to re-subdivide into a north and south parcel, which are proposed parcels 17A and 17C. Mr. Polshow will obviously absorb 17B. The parish code requires that a minimum lot width of 150 feet for A2 zoning is required. However, as noted above, the subdivision is very old, and long and narrow lots are typical for this subdivision. Additionally, proposed lot 17C does not have public road frontage required by code. Therefore, if the commission decides to grant this re-subdivision request, a waiver of the regulations are required relative to the lot width and public road frontage issues, and a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission, 8 members, is required in order to approve pursuant to Section 40-100 waiver regulations of subdivision regulatory ordinance 499.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Richard Polchow. I live at 140 Magnolia Street, and I am the owner of parts of lots 15 and 16, and will be included in the 17B re-subdivision. And I wish just to state that this will help me enlarge my property, protect that area, and restore it to its more natural habitat. I don't wish to do any building or anything on it. It's just going to be a natural area. And would like to hopefully put this behind us.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes, sir. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
My name is William Manson, and my wife Patricia and I live on a parcel of property that's to the west of 17B and C. And I have no objection to Mr. Polchow purchasing the property from Mr. Davies. That's completely acceptable as far as I'm concerned. What I do have is a concern that we have a common alley that's to the south of Mr. Polchow's property and also to the north of that 17C piece of property on the lake, and that's a common alley access. And that's always, as far as I know, been there for common access to the middle piece, this middle strip of property for utility access and things of that nature. And by blocking that off, we won't have, without some type of agreement for utility access, I am opposed to blocking that for that purpose, but not for Mr. Polchow's purchase. And we did go to a meeting, and we were supposed to get some type of agreement about it, but it's never come to pass.
Thank you. Staff?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just to add to what the gentleman indicated, the servitude, if you look at the servitude on the survey, it indicates it's a 20-foot wide servitude. We weren't able to get anything from the surveyor definitively as to what the servitude, it can be used for. However, this servitude is not part of this re-subdivision request. If you look at it, they're re-subdividing a portion of all of 17 and a portion of Mr. Polchow's property, who is assimilating a part of lot 17. That servitude is not a part of this request. We basically had a meeting with the homeowners, with a couple, as I mentioned in my staff report, to discuss that servitude, but it was not part of the proposal. We were just trying to work out, to find out what type of servitude that was and what it could be used for. The surveyor, like I said, without putting anything in writing, indicated that going back to his records as far back as he could find, it was simply designated as a servitude, which I guess could be used for anything that a servitude can be used for, access, utilities, whatever. But that particular servitude this gentleman's talking about is not part of this proposal.
No, I understand that. I was just making reference that the servitude was to service both strips of property that were at one time in my wife's family.
But-
Then Mr. Davies bought the eastern portion of it, and now in an effort to subdivide it, I just want some type, in other words, without public utilities are available along Magnolia Street, and if it comes into the servitude, which I've talked to people from Clico and Atmos also, they said that they would come down a servitude to a property line, but I need some type of access to go across it. And I just want to kind of lodge my complaint that it's kind of landlocking me from utilities if there's not anything in place to allow me to cross that piece of property for utility access.
Well,
So-
I did discuss that issue with the surveyor, and he could not find anything in his records that showed that servitude traversing across Lot 17.
No, I'm not trying to say that it did. It was there to serve Lot 17 and 18 before it was divided, or sold, I should say, outside of the family.
Right.
It was there to service that, both of those pieces of property going into until when Mr. Davies first bought that property.
Right. And again, I think as we discussed at our former meeting, Lot 17 and 18 were both owned by the same family members at one time, and then the 17 was sold to Mr. Davy. And I guess maybe at that time, the idea was for 17, 18 to use that servitude, but when Mr. Davy purchased the property, that changed the dynamics.
From what I understand from, and again, this is not official, I'm just putting this out there, but from what I understand from people that do property abstracts and such things as that, they say that it's the intent of that servitude as to what really counts. And yet I don't have that in writing, so I can't petition, this group of people with that. But it does create a hardship in the sense that if we can't get access to public utilities from Magnolia Street, we're 98 feet away from public utilities, and yet we have to draw from Copel Street, which is 1,600 feet away. And it's just an unreasonable thing to ask a private person to do that. Most people in St. Tammany Parish do not have to cross that type of property to get utility service.
We appreciate your comments. Staff, is there any, that's a surveyor that would have to identify that? It's really not.
Well, again, as I
Part of
stated
this.
before, it's not part of the request,
part of
and
the
there is no
request, part of the case.
servitude currently going across Lot 17 that the surveyor is aware of. That's why he didn't show anything on the survey.
Okay, so again, it's really
Yeah,
not part of the
that's something maybe
petition.
for a civil matter to be dealt with, yeah.
Your comments are noted, sir, but again, what you're raising, according to staff, and I'll defer to council as well, is not a part of this petition?
Well, that's correct. Mr. Hanson is raising an issue about the servitude, which I think we all understand the purpose of him raising it. Unfortunately, this body is not able to take any action regarding this servitude or provide any additional information regarding this servitude, quite frankly, because it is not relevant to the matter that is before it, which is the subdivision of these properties. And unfortunately, when a survey states, as this one does, 25-foot servitude, that doesn't provide enough information to say what kind of servitude, if you will.
Right.
There are many different types. And those rights are typically property rights or personal rights, which once again is not before this body.
Right, I understand. I don't mean to cloud the issue. I'm just saying that I really don't have any opposition to Mr. Polchild purchasing the property, and thus, I guess, I have no opposition to Mr. Davies dividing the property to accomplish such. I just want to bring it to the forefront that it's noted that this is an unusual situation. I think, as Mr. Keller mentioned earlier, these properties are long, narrow properties, and the outside properties face the side street. The east and west face the side streets. The middle section of property does not. So it doesn't really have access per se, except through something like this. And then 1,600 feet of high-pressure gas line is grossly more expensive than 100 feet. And so in order to provide, and electric utilities as well. And so I just wanted it noted that, that's my feeling about not having some kind of caveat to this division that says that there is at least the understanding that we should have access to public utilities at the closest point.
Well, I think, Mr. Hanson, at this point, the record reflects that a survey has been presented as part of this application, and that survey reflects an apparent servitude. Of what nature, we don't know, but some apparent servitude. And that existence of a servitude has become a part of the record of this body. So in the event that private parties in the future wish to pursue to what extent this servitude may be granted to property owners or individuals, they can reflect this record of this body and the action that it takes to show that it was acknowledged that this servitude existed at the time that this re-subdivision was considered. I mean, that doesn't really perhaps help you a whole lot.
That's true.
But the mere re-subdivision of these lots do not make the servitude go away, because that's not, assuming it existed to begin with, because that's not before this body to do at
Right,
this time.
I understand that, and I'm not trying to cloud that issue.
Right.
And as I said, I'm in complete support of Mr. Polchow buying that section. That's fine, I just would like there to be some kind of documentation that we at least petitioned for such before this was closed off, if you will. I don't.
But you said closed off. What are you referring to that being closed off?
The whole strip, 17A, B, and not 17B including lots 16 and 15, but 17B as you look at it north and south, were part of Lot 18 as well. So 17 and 18 were family property that was divided between two halves of the family. And it was always understood that that access would be granted to anybody in the family who needed it. Now that one side of the family has sold the property to Mr. Davey, then that's been in an issue, but now that it's being subdivided, it can even go further. It's going to possibly even, another party for all we know, or at some point.
And that does appear to be true.
Yeah.
But as Mr. Keller had stated, that's really a civil matter between property owners. It's really not in the purview of this body to acknowledge or take action upon.
Okay. I appreciate you hearing me out there.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Mr. Polchow, any further comments? None. This time, we'd close it to the public and then bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren?
Yes, thank you. Just a clarification on the staff analysis report we got in the last week. It showed this to be Ward 1, Parish Council, District 1. Is that correct?
Well, without having a map, a district map from me, I can't be 100% sure. It could be Ward, it could be District 4, but I'm not 100% sure. Could be 4?
Pardon?
Okay.
It's supposed to be
4.
It's just a typo.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Richard?
I know on the surface, sometimes this might look a little strange, but if you look at an aerial view of this area, this is pretty consistent, and I move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Richard to approve. Is that with the waiver, Commissioner? Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any further comment? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Richard to approve with a waiver, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. This will take a 2/3 majority vote. Please vote. Motion carries. Dormant subdivision review, we have none. Tentative subdivision reviews, we have none. Preliminary subdivision review, 2017-586-PP, Simpson Farms, Ward 3, District 3. Developer owner, Prudent Creek Partners, LLC. Engineer, Kelly McHugh and Associates, Inc. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable James Red Thompson. Developer requests postponement until the next meeting. Staff, any further comment?
No further comments.
No further comments. Is the petitioner here? Mr. Marone.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Paul Marone on behalf of Prudent Creek Partners. We're still working through some issues with the staff, and we would request an additional 30 days in which to complete that before our hearing.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the petitioner's postponement? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we close it to the public. We bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Motion to request postponement to next month's meeting.
Motion to postpone until next month's meeting.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dougherty. Any further comments? Got a motion by Commissioner Randolph to postpone until our next meeting. Second by Commissioner Dougherty. Please vote. Motion carries. Final subdivision review, 2017-584-FP, the estates at Watercross, Phase 1B, Ward 1, District 1, developer owner, Watercross Development LLC, engineer, Duplantis Design Group PC, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff.
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on March 2nd, 2017. The roadside drainage and outfall ditches are functioning. Road shoulders and roadside swales are constructed satisfactorily. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of final inspection and will be completed before the plats are signed. On the final plan, number 1, submit base test results. Number 2, submit asphalt test results. Number 3, submit utility trench bedding test results. Number 4, submit utility backfill test results. Under the utility plan, number 5, update the title of the utility plan to reflect as-built as shown on other sheets. Number 6, provide a call out on the utility plan for the size of the water line. Inspection of the subdivision confirmed that the final 2 inches of asphalt have been constructed contrary to the as-built plans originally received by this office. Therefore, revised as-built drawings will need to be resubmitted reflecting this change. Due to the fact that the roadway has been fully constructed, a performance obligation will not be required with this submittal. Instead, should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 900 linear feet times $22 per linear foot for $19,800 for a period of 2 years. The staff recommends approval of the final subdivision request subject to the developer complying with all comments and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. No mandatory developmental fees are required since the developer has entered into a voluntary developmental agreement in the amount of $1,000 per lot. The subdivision is within the urban growth boundary line, and revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the March 14, 2017 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments established at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans. Department of Development Planning has no comments.
Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone, again, on behalf of Watercross Development LLC and the Weiner family. Since receiving the staff comments, all of the items 1 through 6 have been completed. All the test results are in, and the utility plans have been revised accordingly. Just waiting to determine if there are any additional comments from the commission this evening, which we need to incorporate before resubmitting to Mr. Watson's office. So we would respectfully request your approval of the plan as submitted with the final punch list items being completed. I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners may have.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
I move to approve, accept.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve, second by Commissioner Lauren. Any further comments? Please vote. Motion carries. 2017-585-FP, Beatico Creek, Parcels 12, Ward 1, District 1. Developer owner, Beatico Creek Preserve, LLC. Engineer, Kelly McHugh and Associates, Inc. Parish Council Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and final inspection was made March 3rd, 2017. The inspection disclosed that all concrete roads are constructed and roadside swales and shoulders need to have a final dressing. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of final inspection and will be completed before the plats are signed. On the final plat, number 1, submit base test results. 2, submit concrete test results. 3, submit utility trench bedding test results. 4, submit utility backfill test results. 5, install street name signs. 6, install traffic signs. 7, install blue reflectors at all fire hydrants. 8, the typical section needs to be updated to reflect the as-built roadway design and updated on all applicable sheets. 9, remove the call out for a stub out at the inset detail. This was not required or installed. 10, ditch invert elevations at each property corner must be shown, showing positive flow. Number 11 should be disregarded. Informational items, an as-built SWIP and signage plan was not submitted and is required. 14, a letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water system has not yet been issued by the utility provider is required. 15, a negative bacteriological report relative to the construction of the project's water system has not yet been issued by LDH as required by 4070 of the Subdivision Regulatory Ordinance 499. And the developer is requesting to amend the final approval request for Beatico Creek Parcel 12. See attached email dated March 8, 2017 from Kelly McHugh. This request is made due to the fact that lots 461 through 492 are serviced through sewer infrastructure located in Parcel 15, which is not complete. Therefore, a revised final approval is being requested for Beatico Creek Parcel 12A, which contains 24 lots and 925 feet of road frontage. See attached document entitled Exhibit 1 Beatico Creek Parcel 12A. This amended request is for lots 446 through 460 and 493 through 501 and will be serviced for water and sewer through infrastructure installed in Beatico Creek Parcel 11, which received final subdivision approval on August 8, 2016. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 925 linear feet at $25 per linear foot for $23,125 for a period of 2 years. The staff recommends approval of this request, of the proposed final subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with all comments, and no plats are to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. No mandatory developmental fees are required since this subdivision had a public hearing held prior to January 1st, 2005. The subdivision is within the urban growth boundary line. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the March 14, 2017 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments established at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Manella. Paul Marone again, on behalf of Beatico Creek Preserve LLC. All of the typical punch list items that are here, including the dressing of the swales and shoulders, have been completed. All of the test results required under items 1 through 4 have been completed and are in my possession waiting to submit to staff. The street name signs, the traffic signs, and the blue reflectors have all been installed as well. And all of the required changes to the plats have been completed. The one thing that is a little unusual with this final, as you've probably come to realize, is that we are requesting final on a portion of what was originally submitted. We're requesting final on 12A, as Mr. Watson noted in his staff comments. And to kind of clarify why that is, I'd like to explain it a little bit further, but all of the infrastructure for the entire submittal was in and completed. However, A portion, this is, as you see from the plat, this is a loop road. Well, a portion of the loop road is actually serviced by utilities that come from or go to another portion of the Vitaco Creek property that has not received final approval yet. There are lines in place, but those lines have not yet received approval from your staff or from this commission, which created a problem, which staff rightly pointed out, with approving this entire phase, because it would then be necessary to service it with lines that you haven't yet approved. As a result, we are asking simply to divide the phase into 12A so that what you would be considering and approving this evening would all be within the completed infrastructure now, but also tied into completed infrastructure. There would not be any infrastructure needed that is not already in place and, more importantly, already approved by your staff and by the commission. And I look to Mr. Watson, if I did not explain that accurately, to help me, because I want to make sure that everybody's clear.
That's correct.
Why we're making the request this evening, because it is a little bit unusual. So with that caveat, again, all of the punch list items are done, all of the infrastructure is in place, the plat revisions have been made, and we would respectfully request your approval for final on parcel 12A in accordance with my explanation and the revised drawings that were submitted to you this evening. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners may have.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Now, just to be clear, so we are now reviewing this as amended by the petitioner, correct?
That is my request, yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
Paul, a couple quick questions. It's a rather lengthy list, and you mentioned that several of them have been completed. Are there any of these listed items that you have any problem with at all?
No, there are none of the items on this list are a problem.
Understand that this is being final. This is the last time we'll have a public hearing on it. And I just wanted to get it in the record that that was the case. For the lots that have been withdrawn, will those have to come back later for final?
Yes.
Okay.
We will be back with those lots once the infrastructure in parcel 15 that has not yet been approved, we're in a position to come back and join that with the request so that all the infrastructure will be in front of you at that time.
Commissioner Richard.
Would that mean that that secondary component is going to be now 12B?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, how are you going to, whatever, it's the other side of, I can see it here, I just don't know what it's called.
It will probably be 12B. I hesitate because it's going to necessarily include a portion of parcel 15. And so the designation may be a little bit different, but effectively it will have a new designation and a complete submittal to you.
Fair to say that this is 12A, though?
Well, right.
This is 12A. That I'm positive of, yes.
I understand what you're trying to do, and I move for approval, subject to staff comments.
Motion by Commissioner Richard to approve, subject to staff comments and as amended by the petitioner, second by Commissioner Willie. Any further comments? Again, we have a motion by Commissioner Richard to approve, subject to staff's comments and as amended by the petitioner, second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote. Motion carries. Proposed amendments to Ordinance 499, we have none. Old business, entering parish right-of-way, 10th Street, Ward 4, District 5. Request by debtor for an extension of time. The debtor, Darling Design Home Incorporated, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Reichert Taladano. Staff.
Honorable Commissioners, the above referenced resolution was adopted July 12, 2016. The resolution states that the petitioner must submit all documentation within a 6-month period from the date of adoption. The petitioner has not yet furnished all documentation required within this 6-month period and is requesting an extension of time. See attached email dated 2/8/17. Since the time has expired for the petitioner to furnish all documentation, the following action is required by the Planning Commission to allow the petitioner to proceed with the project. Action required, an extended adoption date to 3/14/17, thereby extending the 6-month submittal of documentation to 9/14/17, and the completion date to 3/14/19.
Thank you. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone on behalf of the petitioner. Again, just following up on Mr. Watson, we're requesting an extension of time. There was a delay in submitting some of the information, in particular the sewer and water connections. My understanding from Mr. Coate today is that he has those issues resolved. He is ready to move forward and would simply request some additional time in which to make that submittal so that he'll be in compliance when he does.
And the increase in time, Mr. Marone, will be sufficient for your client?
Yes, I believe so.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Richard.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Richard to approve, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any further comments? Please vote. Motion carries. Is there any new business to come before the commission? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.